Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Fatima Azhara Pandumi, and I am from the international class of the law faculty. Today, I will be presenting to you about LGBTQ plus in a Pancasila-based ideology state for my civics kewarganegaraan MKU, which is about integration and identity. Let us begin. So, what exactly is LGBTQ plus? Number one is lesbian. Lesbian is a sexuality term refers to women who prefers other women over men. Number two is gay. Gay is a sexuality term about a man who prefers men over women. Bisexual, a sexuality who prefers both men and women. Transgender is a sort of identity. Those individuals who identify themselves as transgender usually are born into a different body than what they wanted to be. For example, a woman that is born in the body of a man, does he or she identifies themselves as transgender and wants to change their body. And then number five is the Q, which is question. Usually refers to an individual who is still unsure whether or not they are in an LGBTQ plus society or not. They're still unsure about their sexuality or identity. And then the plus. The plus actually refers to a very much a lot of other different sexualities and identities. But I will mention three of them, which are pansexual, asexual, and non-binary. Pansexual usually refers to an individual who is attracted to every gender, identity, or sexuality, whether it's transgender, normal female, normal male, or trans woman or trans man. Asexual usually refers to an individual who is not attracted sexually to any gender, identity, or sexuality. And non-binary, or people who doesn't identify themselves as a gender. They don't identify themselves as a he, or they do not identify themselves as a she. Usually they use the pronoun they or them. Historical moments in LGBTQ. Honestly, LGBTQ community cannot be traced back historically accurate because it used to be such a taboo thing in society that it is hard to actually track the actual records of when LGBTQ plus first started. But the earliest case that I could found is in the 1731 case in New Mexico, where a landowner managed to find two a pair of gay couple in his territory. The landowner then brought the couple into court, and the couple was sentenced into whipping and temporary banishment. They didn't actually receive such a harsh amount of punishment at that time because they have a good lawyer, and the lawyer defended that the landowner maybe was misunderstanding due to the amount of clothing the man was wearing. They were in fact wearing a traditional clothing, and they were not doing it for sexual intercourse. And then there's also the case in 1988, which is the National Coming Out Day, the first ever National Coming Out Day from the United States. And then in 2011, Hillary Clinton gave a controversial speech when she was still Secretary of State in front of a very anti-LGBTQ community crowd, saying that the gay rights are human rights and human rights are gay rights. That I was quoting Hillary Clinton. Those words are from the speech that she gave in front of these people. And then in 2012, the United Nations put out a education campaign on LGBTQ rights titled Free and Equal. And then, of course, we all know in 2016, when President Barack Obama was put into office, he legalizes LGBTQ marriage for everyone in the United States. Now, the implementation of LGBTQ rights. Why exactly does some country implement the LGBTQ rights? Because these people, the community of LGBTQ, argues that the implementation of LGBTQ rights is basically the same thing as human rights, as they are both human. The only difference is that they identify themselves or they identify those they love as different. However, when it comes down to it, they are still human. They still deserve the same rights. They still deserve the same obligations as every other human does, which is why they actively fought for the LGBTQ rights movement to fight against discrimination to the LGBTQ community. Now, LGBTQ in Pancasila-based ideology states, which is my main subject in this whole presentation. Firstly, what is an ideology? Ideology is a sort of pillar, main pillar for a state, dasar utama bagi suatu negara. This pillar is everything that the state revolves around. So, what's Pancasila as an ideology? Pancasila as an ideology means that Indonesia itself uses Pancasila as everything it revolves around. Every rule, every regulation, every act that the government has ever committed is based on Pancasila and its values. So, why can LGBTQ plus be accepted in a Pancasila-based ideology country? Simple. It's because Pancasila's number one principle holds very, very tightly about religion. And unfortunately, no religion have ever been recorded to support LGBTQ rights. Thus, it's quite difficult for a country that holds very high values of religion to support LGBTQ rights, even though it supports every other human rights. As we can see, Indonesia is a very diverse country, and we very much accept every single diversity, but we couldn't accept LGBTQ rights because it's in our base principle that religions do not accept LGBTQ rights, unfortunately. So Indonesia itself it's quite difficult for Indonesia to accept LGBTQ rights. Okay, so that will be all for my presentation. I apologize if I was stuttering or if there's any wrong sentences or if I managed to hurt anybody with my words. That was me from Fatima Azara Pandrungi from Group 6, signing off. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.